Hello, one. Hello, all. Welcome to this Monday, November 2nd edition of Show Business. Show Business Light, you may call it today. I am CP, as always, and I'm providing the other half of the show today.
Very nice. And I'm Jaime Infuego from Infuegotainment and the Horror Show, coming off our spectacular Halloween weekend. So.
Yeah. And Lindsay and Chauncey are both either not going to make it or going to be late. Very busy week, especially for Chauncey. So
yeah, tomorrow.
Everybody, it's all right. We just had our clocks moved up. Not that big a deal. So the two horror guys are here to talk about the weekend that was Halloween weekend, and why not? Why not have us here? So here are the numbers from the week that was. Oh, that should be a scroller, but all right, we're off the rails already. In first place was Come Play, which Fuego we'll be talking about in a second, with 3.1 million.
Overperforming from what I was reading.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, they weren't expecting much of anything, and they were like, actually, 3 million is a good number for what they anticipated, at least.
Yeah, it's sort of spooky and Halloween weekend, right? You just looking for anything. Honest Thief, which is the Liam Neeson film, that was in first last week. That's bumped down to second with 1.4. War with Grandpa, that's De Niro, 1.3. Tenet, just always in fourth. Now it's slowly fading, 885,000. And The Empty Man, which I'm unfamiliar with, 577.
Yeah, that's another new horror film that came out. I think it came out last weekend, and it's been getting pretty bad reviews. It had kind of a Bye Man sort of vibe to it, and yet I saw the runtime is 2 hours and 17 minutes, and I was like, for a horror film that looks pretty bad already, like what with a runtime like that is going to get people into a theater when they're already apprehensive about going, and now, as opposed to being in there 80, 90 minutes, they're going to be in there for counting credits and previews, like probably 2.5 hours almost. So not too appealing.
Yeah, now I'll say. So why don't you give us the quick on Come Play? There is a review on the Horror Show where both Fuego and Cecil give it a run through, but summarize it if you can.
Yeah. So
or tease it. I don't know.
A little bit. So this is one that we just put up our review for today. Cecil and I went and braved the theater for it on Friday, and it's very well. It comes from Amblin, if I'm not mistaken, first and foremost. So you kind of get the vibe that it's going to have that sort of like Spielberg-y, family-friendly horror vibe to it. It's rated PG-13, as I was telling CP before we got recording and stuff, but this could have easily veered into the PG rating because it's really not particularly scary. There's a few jumps here and there, but it's essentially about an autistic child named Oliver, and he basically communicates through his tablet or through his phone. So he's got like predetermined, phrases and words and things of that nature, so he can actually go to school and do things because he's very sharp and intelligent, but yet he doesn't talk at all. And yeah, and so suddenly he starts just getting hints about there being this like kind of Slender Man-ish looking creature that he can only actually see when he's using this application on his phone and like looking through the tablet or looking through his phone or whatever. And it apparently wants to be his friend, and this creature's name is Larry. And at first his parents, one of which being Jillian Jacobs from Community, they don't believe anything really serious is going down, but as the hints start to pile up, it becomes pretty apparent by the third act. And he also has these kids bullying him at school who play a factor into it as well. His mom is trying to get him to come out of his shell by making friends, and yet these kids are just picking on him even when they're having these little sleepover play dates and stuff. But until we get some legit emotional stuff in the third act, it's really tame,
Sure.
Yeah. Cool practical creature design, though. There's obvious, CG enhancements and stuff. And the Jim Henson Company actually did the design of the creature. So when we do finally see it a little bit more, it looks pretty cool, I have to say. But I mean, the writing just didn't really freak me out in any possible capacity. It resonated with Cecil a little bit more so because he's just recently moved in with his lady who is about to bear him a child, and so she has a 4-year-old, And so he just looked at it through a little bit different of a perspective than me in that regard, I think. So, yeah.
So family friendly.
Yeah, family friendly, solid, definitely not bad by any stretch of the word. I mean, I'm sure you and I have both seen so much terrible horror in our days of YouTubing.
In the last 4 days.
Yeah, one in particular I know we're going to get to.
Yep,
but yeah, so I mean, it's not bad. I don't know if it's good enough to warrant a theatrical visit if you're apprehensive or if any viewers are. But I mean, it still was, solid, family friendly fright fare, I guess. So.
Yeah, and so there was another new release. So Mr. Blum, Jason Blum of all things horror, it seems he wants to corner the market on being scared. Had his little Blum Fest where he released a trailer or teaser 2 for Halloween Kills, where I guess we can finish with that because leave you with a wet palate. But there was a film that also released to VOD. I thought it was split VOD and theaters, but I hope not. Without it cracking the top 5, it was The Craft Legacy, which I think it was the 30th that it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it was originally going to be theater, and at least here in Arizona, where all the theaters are open, it wasn't showing anywhere from what I saw. So maybe they did go just exclusively premium at home access, spending that $20 or $25 or whatever.
Yeah, if you don't know my uncle, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, Cecil bought it, and he was extremely regretful about that purchase. But
yeah, you could have bought food or I don't know, given it to. I don't know, somebody who would have spent it on drugs or something. I mean,
yeah, vodka or whatever.
So it's a what would you call it? Because it's not a remake because spoiler, there's a connection.
Yeah, there's an appearance at the end that makes it very clear that this is a sequel, I guess, but
same universe or some shit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a term that Cecil coined that I always throw out there. Some people like the term soft reboot, which I guess is what The Force Awakens would be considered, or Jurassic World or something. But he likes the term rebequel. So it's a sequel technically, but it's also a remake, which is very apparent in this film's regard because it's pretty much the same setup. A new girl comes to town and she's got powers and trying to make friends and awkwardness ensues.
Sticks out.
And also, the fact that there's a love spell of sorts that's put on a character. There's a light as a feather, stiff as a board sort of stuff going on. So there's a lot of the same beats, despite the fact that it does attempt to be something different. I think a reviewer buddy of mine described it more so as a domestic thriller than an actual full-on horror movie, because there's this whole subplot with our main character, Lily's mother, and her new boyfriend, played by David Duchovny, and the fact that there's tension in the home, and he has 3 sons that are now essentially her stepbrothers, and the weirdness with all of them, and so
the stuff from the OG classic, the original 1996 Craft, they certainly do, and they kind of cruise through all of that, everything that they build in the. I would call it the first act and a half of the original is all condensed to maybe the first 10 minutes of this 2020 rendition.
Very montagey. I'm right there with you.
Right. That was a big thing. They were struggling to do the light as a feather, stiff as a board, whatever. But here it was just, oh, we have the Force. We're good. We got it. Mm-hmm. The progressive nature in which the film feels aggressively woke. There's a bully, a male bully. It was funny. It seemed like casting for everybody who was a dick seemed like central casting, white, surfboard riding, whatever. Same thing, female bitch, blonde hair, valley girl. That's it. And then everybody else in the film was awfully diverse, to be as gentle as possible. Something happens with the love interest thing where it really takes a left-hand turn, and from there, both Emily and I looked at each other and we said, "No, there's no chance. There's no chance they're going to do this again." And it goes swiftly, hard Black Christmas. Yep. And the third act, fuck men, is basically what Blumhouse is trying to get out there through his remakes. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a bummer, man, and it was also it was also very obvious too that was going to be the twist. I don't think that was really that there was any
guessing
that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What ends up going down and stuff. And as much as I actually did enjoy the performance of Lily, our lead character, and she's very, very well fleshed out. She has something happen early in the film when she's sitting in class where I was just like, damn, that is horrible. And the blood and stuff, and that's where she kind of makes friends with these girls. But dare I say, in comparison with the original movie, where like the girl who played Mary Jane in Half Baked, the black girl, she was getting bullied by Blondie, and Nev Campbell had the skin stuff that was going on with the burns and everything, and then also Fairuza Balk's character with the horrible white trash home life and stuff. All those characters were so well just constructed and multidimensional and believable. The rest of the girl gang, they don't do anything with them, nothing. And I wanted to know more about all of them, and they just focused very strictly on Lily and obviously the bully with the spell aspect, but really not much else for anybody else in this movie. So and also it just didn't have that edge to it. Like there was the fact that the black arts could corrupt with Fairuza Balk's character in the first film, but it's like, we're good witches, and there was no edge to any of it. It was almost more like superpower, like X-Men sort of shit. Degree, I guess.
Emily says all you need is candles and the can-do attitude, and you can be. Which apparently candles are necessary for any sort of those activities. It's very in a rush with everybody else, because we have to get this Duchovny angle covered in the second half.
And he's bad in this movie too, man. I thought his performance was just really he was going through the motions, man.
Yeah, and his hair looks shitty like throughout the whole movie, like really, really strange with the hair decisions. And then there's there's a moment where they're having dinner together, but one of his children isn't at the table, and he just that was the moment that I was like, oh, got it. Okay, he's gonna be Cary Elwes from Black Christmas. And I think Emily had a little bit sooner than I did, but it is. I'm trying not to be cynical about it, but it just doesn't give a shit. It's in a rush. It's in a rush to get to whatever. I don't know. Does it have a message?
Well, I think we've already touched upon it in a lot of ways, and it's Black Christmas 2019 all over again. At least in that heavy-handed regard.
But it didn't feel that way from the start. Like this is something.
At the beginning. Yeah.
It felt like maybe it just felt like it was in a rush in the first act, because I didn't check out. And Emily, again, as somebody who in the theater for Black Christmas, 10 minutes in, she's like, we got to go. I was like, we can't. This is content. We have to watch this thing. But she stuck, she, to her credit, she could have left. We watched this at home. She could have went to another room and whatever, but she stuck it out and watched and got progressively angrier and angrier. But it's a shame, because it's not like there wasn't anything there. There was something there. They just cruised through it.
Squandered potential, man, in that regard. And I actually watched with my lady as well, and since I look at it through the critics' glasses a lot of the time, and I'm like, okay, there was this positive bit here, the lead actress, as I mentioned, specifically for me, but my lady just hated this movie way more than me. And we had just rewatched the original film like a couple nights before. And I think maybe that made both of us more judgmental in some ways. Because like that original wasn't like a personal favorite of mine. There was a lot of other 90s sort of, teen stuff that I was more into, the screams and what have you. But that OG film is just leaps and bounds from, cast of performance to every aspect. So it's superior. So.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's again. Allow me to be this cynical shithead male here, but like you were talking about, every one of the characters, every one of the four had some sort of story that made them different and special, and wanting to lean on one another. That like you didn't totally hate them. Like they did some messed up shit and they went down a bizarre path, but like you understood why they, wanted to go another direction and tried whatever. Like they had a fleshed out story, I guess is the best way to put it. The only fleshing out here was, all right, we need a mildly Asian-looking, Hawaiian, Pacific-looking woman who is not your average body type. We need
who was actually a trans actress, from what I was reading.
Oh, really? So, yep, there you go. And it just seemed like they needed to cover the bases as far as what you were looking at, and that's it. All right, go. Here we go. We're gonna cruise through everything within 10 minutes, and there it is. There's the Kraft greatest hits with a 2020 taste, and now hard candy era. Ellen Page is going.
I saw, the resemblance was uncanny, man.
But I was like, what? I'm assuming they were like, damn, Ellen Page is too old. We gotta.
Yeah, where's Patrick Wilson at to be the villain instead of Duchovny? He would have at least not mailed it in my opinion. But
yeah, and it felt like, again, the only cynicism I was feeling for the first act, I was like, yeah, this is Twilight. All right, so girl with moves, and she's got a really great relationship with her mom, and rah 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 rah. Oh, okay, whatever. But that went away. Like there was no more. They just I had these beats that they just had to cover, and men suck. That's all. Like summary, men suck.
Yeah, which often we do. I mean, there's been a lot of recent stuff, which is why we're exploring this so much in films like this, I think.
Yeah, but listen, get me to hate myself. I'm with you. I'll do it. That guy was a dick. I don't know why you had to make the bully character, like what they did with that character was just so strange. Like I hated him. I like, all right, give me a reason for you to embarrass him. But what they did was really, really strange. Like,
when he was talking about gender politics and all that different stuff at the party halfway through, and you're just like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to see the progression.
Is that what we need, though? Like just fucking cram it in there? It's like, what, couldn't he just be that to begin with and not, I don't know. I don't know.
No.
Not good. I can't wait to talk about it through the estrogen in the household, because then I'm not being the dick, because I really wish we were streaming when we watched it, because it just got more cynic and more dark as the movie went on, and it was just like, no, don't. Oh, it's just getting worse. It's just getting worse. Where is this going? Why are you doing this? And
also the CG in that third act was some of the worst I've seen in pretty long while, man. It was silly. So
the eyes and
it was the transformation. I think was what was really funny to me.
And something unfortunate for me, realizing that Michelle Monaghan is now mom age.
That's the name of the actress. Boy, she still looks really pretty though.
I know, but she's playing a mom, and well, whatever.
Yeah.
So $20, I would say no way. If you're in touch with my uncle, maybe watch it. But I don't know. Is there anybody that's liked the Craft Legacy that we are on the same universe as?
Nobody that I know, and I've watched pretty much every YouTube review from like friends of ours. Like I watched Cody's after we filmed, of the few others, and some were at least kinder about it than others who I saw just tear it to shreds. Mm-hmm. But still, like in the end, everybody seemed pretty disappointed in this. So
yeah, I don't know if Chauncey has seen it. So
that's why I'm sad she's not here, because I really would like her perspective on this.
I know. So at least if she hasn't, we give her time to another 7 days. Perhaps she makes the foolish mistake of taking it in. Then we could hear from her next week. But as far as other news,
not in abundance. I mean, it was all horror related stuff for the most part.
And Halloween happened, so we had to do spooky shit. Yeah. Spell did come out on the 30th. I meant to watch that, and we watched Craft instead. And that's unfortunate, because I think Spell was limited, and that also did not crack the top 5. That I don't know why I chose Craft Legacy over Spell.
Yeah, it was also on VOD, because I looked at it. It wasn't the standard $3.99 or $6.99. It was like, I think it was like $10, and that was a little more than I wanted to spend, to be fair. Especially with some of the other stuff that I'd VOD'd in the last couple of weeks, and the fact that I went to a theater. Like, we saw Come Play in the Dolby, where the speakers are in the chairs with you and the rumbling and everything. So I mean, it was a much more immersive experience in that regard, obviously. But I was like, I think, since I'm on a budget right now, I'm probably a little tapped out, as opposed to spending $10 on something that I thought looked interesting, but didn't get to it. So
hey, what are theaters like? I forgot.
They're a ghost town for the most part. I mean, you don't really see anybody buying concessions, and it's limited concessions. It's pretty much like like nachos and popcorn, and that's about it. They're not like at the AMC that we went to. In years past, they'd be making the pizzas and all the premium sandwiches and all that different stuff. None of that, at least not here in Arizona. So
that's brutal. That's brutally. I don't. As somebody who's been on the business side of movie theaters, they're hurting. There's no way they're not hurting just from that alone. The food. I don't know how they're doing this. Yeah. Because it's bad. It's bad. We cannot go. I don't know. We're not getting new releases here in New York. But like, they're trying. We like, AMC keeps sending me stuff like join A-List for $5 for the year or something. And I'm like, dude, and watch what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, welcome back to the movies is what it says in every one of their emails. And I look at the slate and I'm like, well, I guess there's that movie Freaky with Vince Vaughn, where it's a Freaky Friday horror movie, and that comes out like a week from Friday the 13th. So it comes out on Friday the 13th, whoopity-doo. So that's one that'll probably get me back into a theater. But aside from that, more stuff just keeps getting pushed. And so, I mean,
yeah. Of which RESPCT gets pushed back from January to August of 2021.
Yeah.
Rumble pushed back from January 29th through May 14th. Tomb Raider 2, which had a March 19th, 2021 release date, has now been removed from the schedule.
I didn't even know what was happening, honestly. It's Alicia Vikander coming back, I'm assuming, for
I would hope so.
Yeah,
I didn't hate that movie. Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's in the can or what, but if they had a March release date, and knowing what I know about a certain, actually that's a big budget. Maybe they can shoot it. But what else we got here?
Yeah, not as much as I saw like delay wise this week. I mean, there was
Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I don't know if we talked about last week. From March is now June
11th. Yeah.
Yep. We talked about Candyman last week.
Deep Water was this Ben Affleck film that was supposed to come out, I think, I think this month, and they delayed it all the way to August 13th of next year. So that's another one. We touched on Dune. We touched on Matrix 4, the Batman. I mean, Don't Breathe 2 as I keep looking. And
yeah. This is Don't Breathe sequel. Yeah, August 13th.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah. This is just bad. It's just all bad.
Yeah, it's all smaller. Like the indie stuff. A lot that I've seen as I look at Fat Man, which is the Mel Gibson one that we talked about. Sound of Metal is another smaller, more like A24, neon sort of release. That's also going to be dual and then dumped on Prime December 4th. So, I mean, yeah, it's only these smaller films that I feel like are testing the waters in theaters, and then they're either releasing simultaneously or like a week or two later, at home. So,
yeah, just seeing this movie that was placed on this coming out Christmas this year. Promising Young Woman from Focus.
That was one that's been on my radar since we were supposed to see it at the Phoenix Film Festival back in April. It was going to be the closing film. It looks very intriguing.
A young woman traumatized by her tragic events in her past seeks out vengeance against those who cross her path.
It's a cool looking trailer. I mean, it's definitely got.
Oh, it has a trailer. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Post looks pretty sick. Pair of lips with some blood effect coming down. Yeah. This is the first I'm reading it, and just bam on the schedule. Christmas. Nobody else wants to do anything. We'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this week is Is there anything?
There is. I mean, there's a smaller release called The Dark and the Wicked, which is going to be both simultaneously in theaters and on VOD. It's the new film from Brian Bertino, who did The Strangers. He also did Monster. That I mean, a director that I really dig. A trailer looks kind of by the books, but I have enough faith in him as a writer and director that I don't know if it's going to be at home the same time as theaters. Now, I'll obviously watch it at home. Smaller horror stuff like that, of that intimate variety, I don't necessarily know if it dictates the risk of the theater experience. So.
I'm seeing that Diane Lane and Kevin Costner are together again in Let Him Go, coming out this Friday.
Yeah, I have a virtual early screener for that Wednesday nights, which, I mean, it looks okay. Got kind of a Western type vibe to it. It's them trying to find a grandson after the father goes missing or something. So like family drama, a little bit of a thriller sort of vibe to it. But Kevin Costner playing a sheriff, Diane Lane is his wife, and then
Superman's parents are they're still together. It's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah, and The Informer with Joel Kinnaman, Rosamund Pike. Limited. I don't recognize any of this. This is so foreign to me.
Yeah, it's all small stuff, and we would be segueing into Oscar season, which, what's going down. It's all surreal.
I've never not noticed December like this, and wow.
Although Wonder Woman is still holding pat on that Christmas release. We'll see if it ends up happening or not, but because there's still all that speculation.
Oh, Warner, you're adorable. Cody, Brian and I were kind of dependent on Fincher to stick with. There's early December his latest film,
Mank, I believe it's
Mank.
Called, right?
Yeah. Apparently, it's December 4th.
I think it's Netflix, though, right?
Is it?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, so that's no concern then. That's nothing to worry about. Okay.
Although I think they were trying the dual model, almost like Roma, at least at some point, but maybe they're scrapping that now. I'm not sure. I'm not too sure.
Netflix doesn't have to worry about popcorn, so maybe maybe they'll do it.
That's true.
Yeah, but Free Guy apparently is still sticking around with their December 11th date.
Mm-hmm. Which is the one with Van Wilder, right, Mr. Reynolds?
Yes. I mean, with that just released a trailer somewhat recently, and they were kind of big about it. Coming to America appears to not have moved yet.
Although that one's going, although that one got bought by Prime, remember? So it's coming out December 18th on Prime, as opposed to going theatrical. So
I don't hate that idea.
Yeah, no, me neither. I mean, it's Eddie Murphy reteaming, obviously, with Arsenio and a few others, but it's directed by the Dolomite Is My Name director, so that's one that I'm very stoked I'll be able to watch it in the comfort of my own home. I mean, comedy films and horror a lot. It's just like the big budget bonanza sort of shit that I will be sad if I have to watch it at home. So,
so Christmas still looks Christmas-ish. Like you said, Wonder Woman's still there. News of the World, which is that Tom Hanks movie. We were talking about before.
Yep, it's a Western where he finds this girl out in the wilderness, and then he's trying to like protect her from bandits and stuff. I mean, the trailer doesn't look bad. Looks like the kind of role you would expect Tom Hanks to be playing at this stage in his career, especially. So.
Right. And again, like I mentioned before, Promising Young Woman. That's Wonder Woman and News of the World. That feels traditionally Christmassy, something big and something baity, and that's still Christmas. It looks. At least there's that. I don't know. So let's talk about the 18 seconds of footage that has got the horror community upside down. Apparently, Blumhouse has got this film coming out next year that is themed for the holiday season. Halloween Kills, which had a teaser number 2. Some footage. It looks very Halloween 2 Part 2.
True. Yeah.
Hospital setting. Awesome.
And we do see a little bit of gore in this. There's that quick cut of the slash.
Yeah. Which wasn't a knife, by the way. If you pause it, that's not a knife. So interesting. He's using other things than a knife to mess people up. And
you also get our first look at Anthony Michael Hall, I believe, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. It's a very, very brief little shot, but he looks fearsome, like he's ready to, go toe to toe, so to speak, or at least try his damnedest. So.
Sure. And again, it seems the clothing matches the clothing from 2018. So it seems as if this is either the same night, later that night. I don't know. Or they just have a limited amount of clothes, do these people? But it does seem like it's directly after 2018.
Yep, and that's I think we've talked about that before. How the word on the street, at least, is that it begins immediately after in the back of the truck, escaping from the house and everything, and just what transpires from there. But I mean, really, I was just amused with the way the trailer was cut up and them just being like, next Halloween, and I'm just like, oh yeah, because it's a whole year away from arriving. So
that voiceover definitely that was altered. It had to be because strange. What are you doing over there?
Next Halloween he kills. I think that's what they said, right? Or what she
like that. Yeah, that voiceover is most of the teaser. With just some B-roll of a scary, spooky neighborhood.
Yeah.
Lot of footage.
Yeah, I wasn't over the moon for it, to be fair. But then again, I wasn't like as ecstatic about the 2018 film as a lot of people were. So, but I guess this satiates people just a little bit for 12 more months. But no, they didn't surprise drop it for us. Like we were saying last week on the show, we were like, wouldn't it be just badass if they just were like, surprise. You can watch it right now. So
no, instead, hate men. Here it is, Craft Legacy.
Yeah, exactly. And then also they announced that there's 4 more of those Welcome to the Blumhouse films that are going to be coming direct to Hulu next year. So that was another bit of info.
Somebody take that man's checkbook away. Like, dude, Emily made fun of their opening, like their production logo, where it's like everything's scary. Emily's like, do we have to have? I'm like, Emily, it's Blumhouse. They cover all of this shit in their massive studio, so they have to have everything possibly you could think of as scary, and that's what the production logo was for Craft Legacy.
Yeah,
good. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not over the moon for their stuff. They've slowly become more miss than hit. For the most part, at least for me,
Yeah.
So
and I agree, and I think at least to have something big, I don't think The Craft was their big hit. If they were, with stuff in their back pocket.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and yet, even with The Craft, they left it wide open for this third film that apparently Zoe, the director, said she's already written the script for. So I don't know if they're already trying to push that into production, or maybe they'll just hold off and scrap those ideas with the degree of response to this film from both audiences and critics. But who knows? If it was pretty cheap to make, because some of those effects kind of led us to believe maybe they will just say fuck it, just go through with it.
Yeah, it is strange. I have intimate knowledge of certain stuff within the Blumhouse universe. The thing that I was kicked out of over a year and a half ago, Run, Sweetheart, Run. I keep saying, where the fuck is that movie?
It's not even dated right now, is it?
There's nothing. Yeah. There's nothing. It had enough to show to an audience a year and a half ago. And I signed an NDA for something I didn't watch, but I left. So I guess I can talk about the fact that movie exists. Yeah, and it had footage a year and a half ago.
I remember seeing the trailers for it, and I think at one point we were supposed to see it at either a festival or we got a screening invite or something, because that's the one where the guy is terrorizing the chick. It's another like kind of woke Blumhouse sort of situation, if I remember.
Yeah. So we didn't have I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. We didn't have a title. The top of the ticket said feminist horror. That's all it said. That was the top of the ticket. Feminist horror. Maybe Jason Blum's just rifling through in a rather cynical view, perhaps, just saying, let me capitalize on this woke culture and just shuffling cards left and right. All right, this one, we'll put this one out there. And I don't know.
Yeah, it says it was supposed to be released January 27th of this year. So there's just been, it'll show up on Hulu or Prime or something at
out of nowhere.
I imagine. Yeah, but little fanfare, that's for sure. So.
Yeah. And I only have more intrigue. Like I knew nothing about it. And then when we left, I was just like, I didn't care anyway. But now that it's like, dude, where the hell is that thing that we weren't allowed to watch? What the hell's the deal?
Until you just mentioned it, man, I had completely forgotten about that movie. Because it was on our radar because they did release a trailer and date it, obviously, but then just swept under the rug, so to speak, which happens with some of these movies. So.
Yeah, it's strange. It's really strange because I'm trying to think of everything I watched in 2020. Well, I didn't have much to be excited about as far as 2020, like pre disaster, pre Spanish flu 2020. I wasn't jacked up about the year to begin with. Certainly, since not very noteworthy as far as film releases.
It was pretty much Dune was the only thing that I was jacked as hell for and just so pumped. It was probably my most anticipated of the year, and then we see that's delayed almost a year now to next October. So
Tenet, arrogantly so. Like, no, we'll bring it back.
Yeah.
No.
We see how that went. So
yeah. So I think with them being the test lab monkey. Everybody kind of got scared, and I don't know. That's Warner, and I don't know what Warner's thinking with Wonder Woman, but they're holding pat with that.
At least for now, but we're seeing numbers rising again. The second wave that they had all feared. I mean, even here in Arizona, like after going to the theater twice this past weekend, and granted there was pretty much nobody in either of them when I went, but then I see that yesterday we are up 65% from 2 weeks ago. And we're like, last month we were like, 100 something new cases, like lots of days with no deaths. And then, yesterday on November 1st, it was like almost 1,500 new cases. So up 65% from 2 weeks ago.
Oh, is that your state or
that's just my state.
Yeah.
Just Arizona.
Because I think deaths are around 1,000 in the country.
Yeah, I think we only had like 2 or 3, so those are still very, very low. But it's
too hot. You guys are okay.
Yeah, which it's still in the 90s out here. It's awful.
Ready for Fauci to be gone so we can get back to life.
Oh man, but yeah, as far as other like horror sort of news, I mean, the one thing I wanted to ask if you heard is that there is going to be a 5th Insidious movie, and apparently Patrick Wilson is going to be directing it himself, making his debut. So that intrigues me. Are they going to try to bring Lin Shaye back? Will it be another prequel-y sort of thing? Because the 4th one, which I don't think I ever even saw the 4th one, that's something key. It was a prequel, wasn't it?
Yeah. I have to admit, I've avoided all of those movies. All 3, 4, 3.
4 of them, yeah. I liked the first 2. I mean, I enjoyed them.
I've heard that Darth Maul is pretty fucking scary in the first one, so
I prefer the Conjuring franchise, and I mean, aside from probably the first Annabelle movie, I prefer all the stuff they've done with that universe more so than the Insidious films, which are a little more kid-friendly. But I mean, they still push the boundaries of PG-13 horror, but there's a very distinctive line between those 2 franchises. So,
okay. Yeah. So that's good. I don't know. I guess if you're a decent enough name actor, why not let them direct a horror movie? Or what's there to risk?
Yeah,
there's not much financially. At best case, you figure out the guy's a decent director too.
Yeah, and it's been a successful franchise, which is why they would be greenlighting a 5th one in the first place. So,
so you get him back as I guess as a discount. Like, all right, get behind the camera, but
yeah, save money instead of trying to bring back like James Wan to do a 5th one, because he did the first 2, and he after Aquaman he demands a much higher price tag, obviously.
Right. Yeah, no, he's elite status now.
Yeah, not much else though, man. I mean, last week we didn't get the chance to talk about it, but they're making a second Meg movie, and it's got Ben Wheatley directing it, who's more of an art house sort of guy compared to
where are they making these movies?
It's a good question. I mean, they just said it's been greenlit. They have a script, and that's really about the extent of stuff. But they're filming stuff up in Vancouver. I hear that's a hotbed because the numbers are so incredibly low, where a lot of projects are being done is up in Vancouver specifically right now.
Universal rented that whole island for Jurassic World, whatever, and that got pushed back a full year too. So that's 2022. The new Jurassic World movie that they went out of their way to ultra pay to keep people safe. So I don't know how production is maintaining. I mean, I guess if you're in a country that isn't as bad as we are,
and I would imagine it's a lot like sports, where if they're testing people daily, they're masked and shields and all this different stuff. I've seen a lot of on-set photos of some of these productions that have resumed, and they seem like they're trying not to let their industry die, so they're doing everything in their capacity. But if somebody does test positive, they try to trace it back to some sort of source, and they make them self-isolate and whatever. So sports is kind of figuring it out, and I guess the movie industry is trying their best attempt at it too. But
see, this is where I wish we had Lindsay today. Rented an island is a question that was asked. I don't know if they rented an island. I know they bought out a hotel. So I was exaggerating a little bit with the rented an island, but they went out of their way to make sure that they had exceeded what some of the current restrictions are, and they went out of their way to make sure that people weren't going anywhere. You had your own little hotel room, and here, take your wife. I don't know, but again, they're moved back a full year now. So
yeah, it has to be nuts though, for like just escalating production costs of all of these additional precautions you have to put into place to even try to make a movie or a TV show or something right now. And the industry's already hurting from not getting those box office receipts and stuff. So I mean, it's just a bad situation, just being even tougher. So,
Zach, I read that as well. The Orphan prequel is coming. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
How that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to have the same actress reprising the role, apparently. So,
yeah. I guess she's not aging very well. So,
yeah,
good on her.
Haven't seen either of those, but they have been spoiled for me for what she actually is in the film. So.
All right. Well, there's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to see a movie that they might actually film in outer space?
Well, Tom Cruise was set to do it, right?
What was he set to do?
He was going to make a movie in space. I mean, this was news from a few months back, if I remember. First major production to actually be done in space. It's like, well, it's Tom Cruise. He is definitely ambitious. That's,
he's like the hot shot version of Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler wants to go on vacation and he makes movies while he masks it as vacations. Tom Cruise appears to be like going on thrill-seeking adventures. Like, just bring cameras. I'm going to fly a plane.
Yeah, it says here Tom Cruise will officially be going to space in October 2021 to shoot a still untitled film helmed by Edge of Tomorrow director Doug Liman. So that's the plan, and he's going to shoot it at the International Space Station and surrounding orbit and stuff. That's just nuts. Crazy, man.
The insurance they must need for that is
can only fathom.
Astronomical.
Yeah.
That's intense. I hope they make it.
Yeah. So, more power to him if he can get it done. So.
Thank you, Blood Red, for the super chat. Appreciate it.
Did you hear about Michael B. Jordan directing Creed 3?
I did not hear about that.
Yeah. So it's apparently it's in pre-production to whatever degree they can do it right now, but he'll be stepping behind the chair himself, and I mean he's a talented actor. I'm curious. I like both of the previous Creed movies, but
I liked what they did with Creed 2 too.
Yeah.
I gave a shit about Drago Jr. So
absolutely, yeah.
I don't know where they can it seems like they keep mirroring something with Creed and Creed 2. It's only 2 movies, so I don't know why I say keep. But all right, what do you got? What do you got for 3? To hell with it. I'd rather that than I don't know some remake where they take men and make them look terrible.
That's the flavor of the day, though, right now, man. Yeah.
I guess. But I mean, the question really is it working? Is it endearing itself to modern, whatever it is they're aiming for? Perhaps Emily's a little too old to be target audience for the Craft's legacy, but
I'm too old for what?
I said you're too old to be teen girl.
You think teenage girls are buying this?
Do I think teenage girls what?
Buying this whole...
That's essentially what I was just asking.
Yeah. I don't really know a lot of teenage girls, so I don't know.
She just said I could ask my sister. I'll make her watch it and see.
She's not quite a teenager, but she's 3-4 years younger. She might.
Yeah, I don't know. I like that's essentially the question: is is this type of film, this type of messaging, is it working?
Yeah, and I said during my review with Cecil that I think we're putting up tomorrow. I'd say tomorrow or Wednesday anyway. But I admitted I don't think I'm the target audience for this movie. And that's fine. And it just makes me wonder how it's hitting. With them, are they into it, or like you were saying, do they even give a crap? I really don't know.
Yeah, see, but I've been a member of the non-target audience that has done. Dude, these movies make shit like Twilight look like fucking Citizen Kane. Like, I hate to be so blunt, but Twilight was just vapid. Same shit, but it felt like it was like, here, something for girls to just whatever. It's ridiculous. Vampires. It's everything that vampires aren't in a vampire movie.
Yeah.
He's abstaining. Get the fuck out of here. What the fuck is this shit? 100-year-old vampire. What?
And yet there's some stuff that finds its crossover audience more so. That, I mean, even look at something like that recent Netflix Sabrina that just got canceled. That had like 100 times more edge to it than anything in the Craft legacy. And that's why, even though I feel like it is aimed more at the YA, like CW sort of audience, it's still like Cecil and Marsha Parker and Susie and like other friends of mine that I don't work with directly on the horror show. They dug it. They were into it. So
Cecil. Yeah. What the hell does that say? Cecil in touch with his feminine side.
I don't know.
Yeah, but it's true. Like I don't know about you, but I'm far too old to like have any sort of reference to be like, what do you? Listen, I'm not who they're targeting. What you help tell me what's going on? Is it working? Are you buying it? What?
Right.
I can't do that or else I get arrested. So I don't know. I don't know if it's working or not or what.
I'm incredibly curious, and that's where I just don't have those brains to pick, unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
exactly.
I mean, all of my nieces are still like 5-7 years old and stuff. So I mean, would a 12-year-old girl be into this? I think that's a really valid question to propose, but we just don't know.
Right, and. Because I can put a parallel. I was around teenage years for the original Craft.
Same.
I was probably parallel to the target audience, but I watched the Craft when it came out when I was a kid. It didn't feel like that's around the same time as stuff like Clueless. I'm trying to think of other like teeny bopper shit that came out in the 90s that Empire Records, like these were movies that like, they weren't terrible, but it didn't feel like they were like shoving something down your throat. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I have some sort of nostalgic association with them, but I can, as a critique, mind, I can say, yeah, these characters are they're decent characters. They're fleshed out. There's something going on. The story, that there's arcs. The messaging, isn't so heavy-handed. If it's there, it just happens to be an afterthought. But it seems like they have no respect for teens and especially females in the filmmaking universe. I don't know, like the fact that this was written and directed by a female, who gives a fuck? Again, somebody who's in their 30s. So what does she know about being a teenager today?
Yeah. I mean, presumably someone who grew up with the property, and so for that reason wanted to be a part of it. I think she's an actress that is transitioning currently into film, actually directing and stuff like that.
Yeah, the name did ring a faint bell. Zoe, what is she? Not Zoe Luna. That's the actress. Zoe Lister-Jones, who was in a film called Band-Aid that I saw. That was kind of I don't know. She was in a TV series called Life in Pieces. New Girl, she was on.
Yeah, I think the Life in Pieces is what she's most known for, at least in front of the camera, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah, a lot of TV. She was in Whitney. Oh, no shit.
The Whitney Cummings sitcom with Mr. D'Elia. The now his career is over. D'Elia.
Yeah, we don't talk about him anymore. He could tell us what's going on with that end of the universe.
Oh God, you're right. Oh boy.
Oh, good comedian. That's it. Just talking about talent.
Yeah.
Talent on the art. We still tolerate Woody Allen, right? So fuck.
Who I was just talking about a couple days ago, actually. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was trying to think of how many films he had directed, and I was like, it's got to be close to 60, and he's like
every year, just
every year. Going back to the 60s, and he was one of my parents' favorite directors, man, and I still like stuff like Take the Money and Run and Manhattan Murder Mystery and various others, but and what are you gonna say? He married his stepdaughter, like 30 years younger than him. So.
And I was just talking about Jeepers Creepers this weekend, and
oh yeah, that was part of your 31.
Yeah, the Jeepers Creepers series was a part of the 31, and Victor Salva. That name is it happened a very long time ago. What he was arrested for. But
was it before Powder, or was it after Powder?
Yes, it was 89. Powder was 95. He got arrested for acts in 89. You watch some of his stuff, especially Jeepers Creepers 2, and you can't help but think about who made that movie, and you're like, yo, what is going on with Hollywood?
It's the same with watching Apt Pupil, and everything that came out with Bryan Singer after the fact. You're just like the boys in the shower scene and all of the allegations that came out years and years later from them.
Exactly.
Like, holy hell, man.
I mean, Hollywood wants to be woke, and at the same time, it's like, guys, you guys are so fucking corrupt. You have no idea. Who are you to deliver the message on what is right and wrong when half of your people have secrets that are just despicable
and shrouded in secrecy for decades in a lot of cases too.
And it's you watch young boys, girls that talking about the casting couch experience, and it's just like, what the fuck is this shit? Movies that I enjoy. Yeah, like, oh, that woman showed her rack. What did she have to do to get that role? If she was, it's, I don't know. I don't want to go down this preachy bullshit, but it's for everybody to get preachy at a time like this. It's just, how about we all just start square one and figure out where are the same, and
and also in decades past, I mean, in Hollywood, we're talking decades and decades and decades. There's something, in my estimation, to subtext and being allegorical and metaphorical, and all that stuff. There's more of a sophistication to that, instead of just being so blatant and aggressive with your message. So,
Dead Gamer, been watching. Oh, wait, hold on. I'll highlight it. Been watching old episodes of Show Business and watched 2 really good films I've not heard of from Fuego's recommendation. Should be a regular segment. We try.
I'm wondering what those films were.
Fuego does take in a lot. So
already 162 new films just this year. I was looking at the letterbox because I have it all broken up into films that were released in 2020 and then in 2019 and 2018 and stuff. Already 162, man, and I'm just like, well, far more of them were worse than.
Sure, I would imagine.
Solid. Yeah.
But have you seen a 2021 release?
I did see one that I did. It was the few, a month or two ago, where I had to sign the NDA, and it's something that's not coming out until next year with Mark Wahlberg. And,
is it before or after mine? I think mine's later, so I get that. Mine's later.
I think it's supposed to come out next summer. It's like a May release, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, the one thing I was gonna pivot over to that I was curious your thoughts on is obviously the passing of Sean Connery.
Oh, that's right. That happened on Halloween.
Yeah. Very sad, but he was 90 years old.
90. Died. If I can make it to 90, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, especially with the career that he had, and to die peacefully in the Bahamas, and at that age and stuff. I mean, it's unfortunate that his final film was The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but
wasn't it supposed to be Indiana Jones 3? Wasn't like that was like his original plan was to
and then he came out of retirement and stuff because he was
Crimson Tide was okay. That was him, right?
And then he was in The Rock. He was in he was in The Rock, which was great. I mean, obviously everybody points to all of those Bond movies, where he's still probably my favorite Bond, although I have a soft spot for those first couple Pierce Brosnan films, GoldenEye especially. But yeah, he was the first Bond I ever saw on screen. My grandparents had one of those like VHS box sets with like all of them, the Roger Moore ones, the Timothy, why the hell is his name?
Timothy Dalton.
Dalton, yeah. Who did two underrated Bond films, in my opinion. But, I mean, Connery will always be my guy, Dr. No, and, Goldfinger, I want to say, and,
Octopussy?
God,
that's the title.
Or was that Roger Moore? I can't remember if Octopussy was Roger Moore.
I have the 007 Blu-ray set that's right up until Spectre. And I haven't taken them all in. So maybe, especially, that seems to be the thing. I mean, especially with musicians, this probably better than anybody. When somebody passes, it's like, I got to buy all of their archive now.
And often their stuff skyrockets back up. Like it re-enters the Billboard charts when a prominent person passes away. So
yeah. Michael Jackson, I think, was the last time that was a big deal. Or Whitney Houston was another one where everybody like revisits that person's work. Yeah. Maybe I should do the same. And Untouchables, Stiff Kittens.
Oh yeah, with Kevin Costner, and again, that's another one that I saw people mentioning. It's a terrific movie, and I even like him in goofy shit like Time Bandits. That Terry Gilliam movie. Yeah. The Rock is. I don't know why I thought he was in some sort of. Was it? No, wait. He had to be in one of those. What is that character's name? Fuck. Ben Affleck was him in the nuclear bomb movie. I'm trying to pull up his.
What the hell is that character's name? That there's a ton of books about him.
Oh, Jack Ryan, right?
Yeah, Jack Ryan. I don't know why I have Sean Connery in one of those movies, but I guess I keep mixing The Rock with one of those Jack Ryan movies from the 90s.
Well, I contend The Rock is Michael Bay's best movie. I mean, that's Ed Harris and Nick Cage. Obviously, that is an entertaining movie, man.
I'll give you that. Yeah, The Rock is tops. I might argue 13 Hours. I might argue The Island, which I think is really, really.
That's the one with Ewan McGregor, right?
Yes, I think that's unfortunately overlooked for. I mean, there's not much to it, but for Michael Bay, it's quite a story.
Yeah, that's one that I never saw. It's
Scarlett Johansson being oddly charismatic, because up until then, it was like at 05, 06, it was in the mid-aughts. This movie came out, The Island. And up until then, Scarlett Johansson was, the next big thing, and she was in that Horse Whisperer. She was in that quirky movie with Thor Birch and Steven.
Oh yeah, Ghost World.
Ghost World, yeah. And she was always kind of like, and she was also just in Lost in Translation, and like I was just like, yeah, she's kind of the same thing in everything she's in. But then in The Island, she was kind of, silly and childish, and that's kind of what her character called for. And I was like, oh shit, okay. And she's kind of done things since, but she stuck around apparently.
Indeed. Although
she's done a couple things here and there.
Well, I mean, the Black Widow getting delayed again. That's gotta I don't know what else she has on the slate currently. I'm almost kind of curious to look like what else is in the can, just waiting around. But that was supposed to be like big time star turn for her, similar to, she was in the live action version of the Ghost in the Shell, if I remember correctly, right? And that was not received very well because it wasn't very good. So.
Lately, she's synonymous with playing something that should be played by somebody else. Yes. I agree, Cecil. A little, again, a cynical look. The word of the day is cynical. Yeah. A cynical look at things that really happened. A little too comedic.
That's what a lot of people thought, was that it wasn't as respectful of the situation as it probably should have been. So
there's a freeze take where they do a title screen that says, "Remember, this stuff actually happened." It's like, What are you making him look stupid for then?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at some of the other stuff. Yeah, he was Kingdom. Richard the Lionheart and Prince of Thieves. Hunt for Red October, which is, I think...
That is it!
Yeah. Highlander. How could we forget Highlander, man? I mean, damn, he's great in that. But yeah, he hadn't done anything since 2003. So he'd been retired for nearly 20 years at this particular point. So,
and he's looked the same for about 30, 40 years.
Entrapment. That was an interesting one with him and Catherine Zeta. That one wasn't too bad.
Yep. It gets skated over. Sean Connery does not get talked about, but Emily does talk about Entrapment briefly in my 1999 series, where that is a DVD title screen that Emily remembers fondly. So there's that.
There's a trailer. I fondly remember the trailer because of where Catherine Zeta's like crawling under the lasers and sticks her butt out, and you're just like, okay.
Yep. That's exactly what I was talking about. First Night.
Yeah, that was the one with him and Richard Gere, if I remember correctly.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, didn't blow me away. He was Finding Forrester also, if I remember. Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean,
a storied career for sure.
Sure, and like you said, it's been a while. It's been a while. The guy just lives on in pop culture, regardless of what he would have done in between 2003 and now. Kind of like Pesci coming back around. Apparently, Joe Pesci is working more and doing 3 or 4 more projects, and it's just like, man, he did nothing after Casino or that Gone Fishing movie, and suddenly,
and yet he was great in The Irishman.
Yes,
he was terrific in that film. I thought a very subdued performance in comparison, which was really interesting.
Yeah, especially with Scorsese directing Joe Pesci, you're like, all right, what are we getting here? And that's not what you're.
Because you
don't get your stereotypical Joe Pesci.
Yeah, Casino and Goodfellas and stuff, and how manic his characters were in those films.
Even the boxing movie, Pesci was a bit the same. Manic's a good word to use. Yeah.
Yeah.
His why in the First Night where Richard Gere bangs Guinevere is gold. YouTube it real quick. It's Vader no level. Oh, we're trying to remember him fondly, Cecil.
Yeah. I was
Zardos, if you'd like, I guess.
Yeah, when the news dropped, I was with Cecil helping him move out the very last of his stuff along with Robert Duvall from his old place, and I mean, I just started quoting Last Crusade like crazy. We named the dog Indiana, or Indiana, let it go. I mean, what a great dynamic. And I saw that, Harrison Ford, just, it was a very heartfelt tribute. And, he had some really kind words to say about him, in their time working together. So.
That's sweet. That's really sweet. Yeah. I didn't find out. I was busy. I was putting together a massive, ridiculous video.
Yeah, you were.
I edited my tail off, and I'd still want to edit that damn video, but I didn't find out till late Halloween night, and I really meant to watch something 007 related, just because there's so much of that entire franchise that I just wanted to, I don't know, something happened where there was they had a tribute show to Lane Staley in like August, and one
of the greats, man.
Dude,
love Alice in Chains.
And there's a young dude who sounds exactly like him, and apparently he's in some Alice in Chains cover band, and it made me stop and wonder, like, why don't we have a movie about Lane Staley? Like, or even Kurt Cobain? Like, you want to talk about us as teenagers? Where are those music stars that died during our youth?
Yeah.
Our
Well, there was the Gus Van Sant Kurt Cobain movie, if I remember.
Last Days. Is that?
Yeah, it was loosely based on him, but everybody knew. They're like, yeah, it's about Kurt Cobain. And he's a guy who was exactly like in the same scenario at the end of his life and all that jazz. So
I don't think I've seen that.
I don't know if I have either. I think I saw maybe bits and pieces when I was in maybe a film class or something when I was in my 20s, but I sure as shit don't remember it. So
Stop calling me Junior.
Junior.
Wait, what? I said get rid of interleague play and wild cards. Is that baseball talk we're doing, Aaron?
I think that's where they're going.
Why the wild cards? Wait, why did we bring up baseball? Did we talk about baseball?
I have no clue. Maybe somebody in the chat, but if so, I didn't see it. So.
Okay. Yeah. Back to two teams. Just that. Oh no! Have you seen the Bowie film trailer?
I have. Yeah, it's called Ziggy. It's either called Ziggy or Stardust, one of the two. But it's about his early career and when he decided to embrace the androgynousness and actually go out on stage as this character after having pretty much no success in North America until then. I've heard a lot of people who saw it on the festival circuit talk crap and say the script is pretty bad. But his performance, at least in the trailer, looked interesting enough to me. And Bowie's one of those timeless musicians as far as his chameleon-like ability to reinvent himself and stuff, and still making great music right before he died too. So although this is obviously not like a full career sort of situation like Bohemian Rhapsody, it's focusing just on his early career and where he like rose to fame, basically. So. I mean, I'll see it just for the performance because I'm intrigued, but it wasn't the best trailer. So,
Velvet Goldmine for the win.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's one I haven't seen in forever.
Yeah, Bowie. If we're still on music, that's somebody who adapted. I mean, if you listen to all of his stuff from the 70s and 80s, like nothing, no one album sounds the same.
Not at all. And also the writing he did for other people, like, all the young dudes and stuff like that. Like he was also writing for other people besides doing his own.
Yeah. I forgot what it was, where it was or whatever. There was some documentary. I don't know if it was a YouTube video, it was a movie or what. I know I saw it in a house. I know I saw it in my old house. And I think perhaps Bowie was still alive when I saw it. But they were talking about the making of Fame and like every integral piece that was involved in the music writing Bowie was involved in. And like they were doing stuff as far as in the production end that was just unheard of, but is, quite, I guess, normal now, but like, massive mixing and the wall of sound as the Beatles made famous.
Phil Spector, for sure.
Yeah.
Bowie for me was very similar to Prince in the fact that he played pretty much every instrument. He sang. He was very heavily involved in the production and the mixing process and all of that stuff. So, I mean, immense talent for sure.
Who do you like more, Bowie or Prince?
I can't say I'm the huge diehard fan of either of them. But,
really?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate them, but a lot. But I'd probably say Prince, but boy, it's
wow, okay.
It's pretty neck and neck. I mean,
I'll split the difference. It wasn't close for me. It was Bowie.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that Purple Rain's just a movie to me. And
I love Purple Rain. That's the one that finally broke down the barriers with me to appreciate Prince a little bit more. So I mean, I'm more familiar with Bowie's extent of hits and having a lengthier discography, So, but
yeah, I mean, they both had very interesting paths, and Prince. I remember when he changed. I remember when he changed his name to that
symbol.
That symbol, that thing, the artist formerly known as Prince, and then he was the artist for a bit. Yeah,
they were both distinctive in their androgynousness. I'll contend that for sure.
Sure. And there's something sexy about that. And you brought up Bohemian Rhapsody, excuse me, and Freddie Mercury both played both sides of the plate, so to speak, and sexy to whoever was there watching. So there's something to be said about somebody that can turn everybody on.
Yeah,
as an entertainer, it's we both have spent time on stages, to get people damp on every aspect. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. That sort of magnetism, because there's so many. I mean, there's so many artists that are a lot more reserved, and they don't have that sort of stage presence. That all three of the names we just mentioned, whether it's Mercury, Prince, or Mr. Bowie. So.
Yeah, quite interesting.
What's your favorite music biopic then? What's one that, because I see some people in the chat mentioning stuff like The Doors and Straight Outta Compton and stuff like that.
Biopic. So I will stick with my original answer, which is The Doors, but Straight Outta Compton is really good. If we're going nonfiction, the HBO produced 4-hour-long Martin Scorsese directed
the Rolling Stones one, right?
No, about George Harrison. Holy shit! It really, that documentary opened me up to George Harrison's solo career, like wow, and everything he did after the Beatles. I was like, holy shit. After that documentary, I really opened myself up to George Harrison and really enjoy his stuff post Beatles. He might be my favorite Beatle now. Entire discography considered, I think it might be George Harrison.
Crazy. And I know a lot of people point to that triple album that he did as like one of the best releases of that entire era, if not any Beatles related project. So. I see people saying Ray. That's one that is solid. I honestly like the ones that aren't actually based on anything, the ones that just have their own amazing original music and run with it, whether it's Once is probably my favorite. It's about an Irish street musician hooks up with a Czechoslovakian pianist who's probably about half his age, and they have kind of a little romance thing, and they write all this amazing music together, and he makes a record, and it's great. But it's one of those sad, bittersweet sort of films. The song "Falling Slowly" won the Oscar that year for Best Original Song, which was cool. Wild Rose is one I've talked about a lot lately, about this girl from Dublin who dreams of moving to Nashville and being a singer. That movie is terrific.
See, I watched it, and like everything about it felt like I don't know if you've seen The Rose with Bette Midler.
No, I haven't, but it borrowed a lot from that, in your opinion?
No. It felt like the classic, Southern rock female, and the locations just didn't match up for me. And that so disarmed me. Like everything else felt like, oh yeah, this chick's from like Tennessee or some shit. And but just everything about her felt so Southern rocky. But like from Dublin or Scotland or one of those places, and the locations just didn't make sense. Then she finally goes out to American. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it is Scotland now that I think about it, because she's in her big song "Glasgow" is what she's singing about. So yeah.
I don't know if Showgirls is a music film. It has music in it.
Lords of Chaos. That's good. That's a very good one, actually. It has its fair share of liberties that they take, but I thought it was, having seen the documentary as well.
Another movie.
Good. Culkin was great in that movie. Very, very solid performance.
That's another movie that, sometimes you watch something where it's a dramatized version or a fictionalized version of something, and it kind of gets you jacked up to look into it. And that's exactly what Lords of Chaos was. Again, to keep Emily's attention is quite a feat with a lot of films, because I watch a lot more than she does. And whether or not she sticks around is when I know, oh, this one's pretty good.
It's a barometer sort of.
Yeah. Oh, she's staying. Okay, I'm on to a good one. And she was within like 5 minutes and didn't leave, and it was captivating. And I was like, how much of this is true? There's no way. And then I just fell down the YouTube ADD rabbit hole and just looked up so much about the band and the documentary. And apparently there was two. There was one that was not from them, the one that they were in, and it's interesting. It's interesting because there's a lot going on, and somebody can't speak for themselves in that story. And shit. And
it also says a lot. I would say that if you're not into that sort of music, but yet the film can still be engaging, then that's a serious accomplishment. So.
Right. Because that was the one thing I said, that I can't tell you anything about their songs, and good. It just happened to be a side piece. Yeah, they're Norwegian black metal. Here's what it is, but here's the story about these people behind this type of music and this scene in Norway.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and from all the extreme behavior, not just on stage but off stage as well, with the church burnings and all that. Band members killing each other and
the fucking the album cover. I was like, there's no way that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that really happened.
Yeah.
That's hardcore.
Agreed.
It's the awkward. I guess if there's something, if I can get it, we get a lot of heat on our review of it. Fans of that band hate that movie.
Yes.
And the tone of the film, I certainly could understand if somebody really feels something special for that band. The tone of that movie is a little odd. Because they're playing their music in the basement, and then the sister it felt like a comedy for a minute there.
A little bit, just here and there. I mean, by the third act, absolutely not.
Right. But it was just like, all right, what are you doing? Just stay in one lane. You can't do this.
Yeah.
So I put myself in these people's seat, and if like I said before, we need an Alice in Chains movie or Lane Staley movie. If they took some of the same tone and I don't know, made Lane's heroin experiences and made it funny, I don't know if I would appreciate that as a fan. So
I'm right there with you, because they're a band that even I've seen some of their behind the scenes stuff, like their video that they put out and stuff. They were such a bunch of goofballs behind the scenes and backstage, and they had very strange senses of humor, but I don't really think there is any sort of their music was very serious. You listen to something like Dirt, you listen to something like the self-titled.
That whole album's just a cry for help.
Jar of Flies being another one that I always go back to. So they didn't maybe take themselves that seriously, but they definitely took the music very seriously. And so for that reason, I mean, if you handled the tone in that fashion with a band like that, with somebody who died so tragically and was in just isolation for the last few years of his life, just getting so effed up, I think it would be in bad taste. So I mean, those super fans, I guess they do have a point, perhaps, because Mayhem most definitely took themselves very seriously.
Sure.
So they acted like they were a band on a mission, and in a lot of ways with the anti-corporatism and, just denouncements of religion and all this other stuff, they had fair points to make. They just went a little too far in certain ways.
And at a certain point, the film does get its message across about being arrogant, being spreading out your chest and being a bullshitter and doing something. And I think that was the big note that I got from it. that they were trying to say that, yeah, sure, this guy got made fun of because he listened to the Scorpions or some shit like that was a scene. And I remember the real dude made a YouTube video. He was like, I never listened to the Scorpions. It was like, really? Did you have to make a YouTube video for that? I figured it out. Like, okay, they want to show that, you know, people who get bullied or messed with in a certain fashion, sometimes they have the tools, while some people just can sound like it. Like they're a tough guy, they're a hot shot, and some people don't talk the talk, but they walk the walk. It was what I got from that ending.
Those are the ones that I kind of fear a little bit more. So
sure.
So yeah.
Zachary Haith, of course, the best is Spinal Tap. Forgot. How could I forget? These all go to 11.
I thought I saw someone say, well, Walk Hard. Someone else mentions that. That one with John C. Reilly is pretty funny, man. I gotta say. Okay, honey, I guess we can drop acid with the Beatles.
Yeah, but have you seen Spinal Tap?
Oh, I own it. I've watched it dozens and dozens.
He's like, listen to that. He's like, you're not playing it, but he's like, yeah, but you could.
Big Bottom, working on a sex farm. I mean, come on, man. Trying to raise some hot love. Anything Christopher Guest, though, like people are saying, whether it's A Mighty Wind or, I mean, Waiting for Guffman, all of those improvisational things. But when there's a musical tinge, I appreciate that even more.
I like the Oscar bait movie too that they did.
Yeah, for your consideration.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Motorcycle US asks, what do you think of the musical Little Shop of Horrors from the 80s, which apparently is getting
remade again.
Apparently. Musician, what did you think?
It wasn't one that I grew up with as much. I mean, I saw it like on TV and like in syndication here or there, and I appreciated some stuff, but maybe it was a little too weird for me at the time. Just like it took me a while to come around to enjoy Rocky Horror in a similar fashion, to where I'm like, this is goofy and kind of weird. I don't know how into it I am. I mean, obviously the evil plant, it's eating people and whatnot. I thought that was a cool concept, but the music was a little too doo-woppy at times and whatnot. But it is one that I eventually came around to and appreciate. And the wormy performance from what is his name? Not from Steve Martin as the asshole, from Strange Brew and Rick Moranis. Yeah, I was like, the name was just blanking for a second there. But yeah, I mean, it's now looking at it as an adult and stuff after revisiting it a few times, I think it's a cute movie, but yet it's not that sacred where I'm opposed to a new version of it, as long as they do something interesting with the music. And but that's really, if it is in fact going to be a musical, once again, that's the quality of those tunes and their memorability and whatnot. If they try to make it sound more like modern pop music or whatever,
I have to admit, musicals are something that don't break through with me. There's a couple that I like, but if you've got musicals, if you got music in your movie, it better be like a backing track, or it better make sense with the story. Like, I just, for some reason, I can't comprehend movies where they just stop and start singing something. It's like, why? It takes me right out of the movie, and I don't know. I just don't have the attention span for musicals, I guess.
Well, and there's an interesting distinction between if it's a music movie, which is what I would consider like the Commitments, which is one of my favorites, the Alan Parker movie, or even The Doors, but then a musical, something like a Grease or whatever, is totally different than a movie that's about music and has performances.
I agree. If it's, if they're musicians and they're playing music, okay, cool. But if they're going to the supermarket and then suddenly everybody's dancing, and I La La Land was my most recent experience where I was like, it looks good. It really does. I understand why people love it.
Yeah, I enjoyed aspects of it, not like a personal favorite or anything, but I will admit that I do have a soft spot for the John Waters Hairspray musical with the cross-dressing John Travolta and all that stuff. Like, that movie was just so strange, and I think it was because the girl I was dating at the time watched it a lot when it came out, and so it just grew on me over time. And now I actually like that version better than the original, that was in the 90s, but still not. I mean, Waters is an acquired taste for sure. So.
You know what? I forgot about this. Josh says I might get hate for this. I know it's not based on a real band, but exactly. Rockstar has some really good music. That's Mark Wahlberg playing.
Mark.
Yeah.
Guy who transitions into grunge by the end of it, remember, after he leaves the band. And it was about the guy who replaced Halford in Judas Priest. That's who it was based on.
Based on, yeah. Yeah, it was very hair metal. As a fan of hair metal, I'll be honest, when I first saw that movie, I was like, tone was a little like when they were fighting in the parking lot about their fucking flyers. I was like, oh no, they're kind of making it look silly.
It was kind of in on the joke to a degree.
Yeah.
And there's a song called "Stand Up and Shout" from that movie that I think is really awesome. Zakk Wylde from Ozzy playing guitar on it, and you hear he's like squealing and shit. But
well, there's that one where he first takes the stage. I don't think it's that song, but when he first takes the stage and falls, that's another whatever that tune is. I enjoy that, whatever the fuck the name of that song was. But I remember I was like, this is pretty badass. This song. I liked the movie. I like the music. I don't know if Rockstar is something that I would want to show people. I see. I don't know, and I don't know why everybody thinks of the '80s and metal and or rock from the '80s with this like, but like the Motley Crue movie, I was angry watching that movie because it was just
I hated that movie, honestly. I thought it was one of the worst I saw that year.
I agree. And the Ozzy scene snipping it, so it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, what is this? This is stupid. I'm still waiting for a representation of a band that played in the '80s that isn't doofy. Even Bohemian Rhapsody, kind of fucking silly.
Yeah. I agree. Until the third act, where they were doing the "Who Wants to Live Forever" bit and all that stuff. After his fate is pretty much the writings on the wall. That was really the only time where it wasn't very derpy, because it was a derpy movie. Let's be fair about it, So
yeah, it was derpy, and they really could have gotten into some stuff with Freddie and got really, really safe with everything they covered in that movie, and it was just like, fuck, really?
They wanted that PG-13 rating. They didn't want to ruffle people's feathers as much. So
here's how we wrote "We Will Rock You." Like, I don't fucking care. What is this? They were fighting, and then suddenly kick, clap. Like, get the fuck out of here. I don't care.
Even Another One Bites the Dust, where he's like, they're arguing about being disco-y, and then homies just starts playing the bass line, and they're like, I could do something with this. And it's
just so, get the fuck out of here. Just stop. And then half of the movie, it's like the entire third act is just their Band-Aid set. Okay, sure.
Could have been better.
You make people think that Queen stopped after Band-Aid, not understanding that 3 albums came out after that performance.
Sure.
I would have liked Freddie fucking fighting through AIDS to record an album with them, and shit. What, they released that Queen 3 or I think the
I'm trying to remember.
They released an album right before he died.
He did.
Like, I would have give me that where he's fighting through it just to get some more of his talent out there. But nope.
Yeah, Cliff Notes instead. Let's just do it like that. What are you gonna do?
Pop Star Never Stop Stopping. How Seal Got His Scars. That is a funny movie. I have a fun time.
It's a very, very funny movie.
Motorcycle USA, $2. Thank you. Opinions on heavy metal and soundtrack.
Yeah, the animated movie, yeah, it's good. I mean, you've got some Blue Oyster Cult, you've got Sabbath with Dio. I mean, yeah, it's a good score. You've got some Sammy Hagar.
I have not seen him. I enjoy Sammy Hagar. I really do. I enjoy Van Hagar. I enjoy I Can't Drive 55. So and Dio. Fuck. I mean, how can you not like Dio? Like that?
Yeah, the elf with a voice the size of a mountain is what I think when I'm still doing print journalism, I title one of my articles that about. But yeah, man, I mean, it's definitely one of those R-rated early '80s sort of hit and miss scenarios where there's a couple segments that I think are compelling and interesting. Most notably, the final one with the girl riding the dragon and all the iconicness to that. But then there's like I'm not too big on the wraparound story. I mean, but it's one that I think was more so like if you were like a 12, 13-year-old kid who saw it late one night on cable and there's these big jiggly animated boobs like all throughout the movie, you'd probably have a little bit more of a fondness than somebody who's discovering it now, but who knows? So.
Sure. And Stiff Kittens, I don't know if you were saying that as I was saying it, but yes, it was considering that Queen were all listed as producers. It was a Queen film, Disneyfied, totally swept over his love life, struggle with AIDS, and drug abuse. Yes, exactly.
I still liked Rami's performance though, man, which is why if they had a better script that really went for that more hard R, I mean, I thought it was great casting with him, and I thought that with what he was given, despite how just kind of beat by beat it was, I still was impressed by him, and I was happy when he won that award. So.
I want Sacha Baron Cohen,
who was originally cast to play him. Yeah,
you hear him talk about it, and if you squint enough, he's a dead ringer. He's a dead ringer for Freddy.
Yeah.
I would like to first of all just to Sacha Baron Cohen. He's got to be. This is his chance to be dramatic and like really mess around with something. I've
heard he's good in the Trial of the Chicago 7, which is that new Netflix film. He's in that and taking a dramatic turn, and I've seen praise for his performance in that. So.
Okay, but you hear him. There's stuff. He's been interviewed before, most popularly on the Howard Stern show, where he talked about it, and he talks about Queen and their interference in the movie, and all I could think of is his interviews and the things he said about the film, and then we get Bohemian Rhapsody, and it's like, oh yeah, no, it's Queen selling you their version of the Freddie Mercury story as told by Queen.
Yeah, very defanged and declawed in that regard. So, yeah.
Good point, Zachary. He wasn't Sweeney Todd.
To shave the face, to shave
and Hugo as well. All right, so yeah, he's got the chops.
And also being as we talked about this.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, you're fine. I mean, something we've talked about on this show quite a bit is the fact that it's always interesting when comedians take those dramatic turns because of the fact that they do often have that darkness about them. And so that's why guys like Robin Williams and even Jim Carrey and stuff were able to make that sort of transition. So.
John Deacon has totally separated himself from Queen since Freddie died, and I don't blame him. Like the Who, it just two old guys and other people, not Queen and the Who.
Yeah, the Adam Lambert or whatever the dude's name is.
Is he still touring with them? Wow.
Yeah, he's still their front man.
I mean, I'll give him credit. He that guy can sing.
He can sing. He's a hell of a performer. And, I guess the fact that he's not trying to sound like Freddie, if it's working for them and they're still selling out arenas and, well, they aren't now. Who knows when live concerts are properly coming back. They've tried to get everything else back, sports and, movies and stuff. But concerts seem to be the farthest off. But, hey, if they're making it work, more power to them, I guess. They got jobs. So
Yeah. The Queen is a band that, like, I don't know. I've always felt weirdly about, and then again, knowing what I know about the production and how Sacha Baron Cohen, I was so excited because I remember thinking, man, he looks like Freddie Mercury, and just
it was in development hell for a while with him attached to Star, if I remember.
Yeah, and then
couldn't get moving.
I didn't realize that they took all of his work that he did in the 80s, and then they put their music to it, and it's just like, why? You can't write your own shit, you got to take stuff that he did without you and then put Queen music behind it.
Yeah.
Granted, it sounds a little better. I'll give them that, but they weren't in the creation process, so it's just a little odd that they've associated or clung to him so much, where it's just like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, a little opportunistic, I'd say.
Sure.
So
yeah, I agree. I agree. I do have the Blu-ray of the tribute concert where you have performances by Elton John and Axl Rose together, and it's just wild. That tribute concert's incredible.
I've seen the Axl performance. Yeah, GNR being one of my favorites. Ever. That's a biopic that if they went like hard R with, I would be intrigued about. But like, how far would they go? Would they show the new incarnations of the band that he put together, and Chinese Democracy and all that other stuff? I would be curious, but I'm sure it's in some level of development and just hasn't been announced, because biopics are seemingly kind of back on the rise a little bit. So after Rocket Man and Bohemian, most notably.
Rocket Man, I must confess, not the biggest fan of Rocket.
I didn't love it as much as everybody else, even though they went for the hard R. I love Elton John, man. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and This Train Don't Stop Here Anymore. Even later stuff like that. But I don't know. And
that I guess I'd put that in the musical category, because they just stop and
dance numbers.
Yeah, it's just like, what are you doing? Just tell the story, man. Okay, all right, whatever. Hollywood they fall for one thing, and then they get laser vision. Like, all right, we could do a bunch of things like this. What do we got? And they just beat it to death. And
what spec script is floating around that we can just jump on right now?
Yeah. George Michael was great. Was Somebody to Love. I agree. That's coming from a nine inch, perhaps non-George Michael fan, I would say. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm like 9 Inch Nails.
I was like, George Michael, 9 Inch Nails.
Is this a mashup that's floating around online somewhere?
Intrigued. You have my attention.
Yeah.
Again, Metallica played that. Like, if you can get your hands on the Freddie Mercury tribute show, it's interesting. And my mom was a very big fan of Queen, so she watched it live, and I was very young, but too young to understand. But she made a big deal of it, and now looking back, I understand when Elton John and Axl Rose hugged. That was a big deal back then, because Elton John, a little flamboyant, homosexual, out, and Axl Rose had this image about him that was, not very friendly with certain parts of the world. I don't know where to. So
he had made like anti-gay comments. He's dropping racial slurs in that song "1 in a Million," where he's sent the N-bombs and stuff like that. And So that was definitely a big deal. It was. And then he also helped on that live performance of November Rain, where Elton was playing piano along with him in '92. And so,
sure.
Good stuff.
All right. So this suddenly just became
music talk.
It's just music for half an hour. I don't know what else we got.
Not really. Aside from, we talked about what's coming this weekend or the lack thereof, and that's about where we're at.
We held strong. It's been an hour and 43 minutes, half a cast. So I think we did all right.
I saw Cecil jump on and say, "Yeah, it's looking a little empty up there," or whatever he said. And I'm like, "Well, we got it. We got it.
We're all right."
Yeah.
It could be 2 of us. It could be 4 of us. It could be 6 of us. It's all right. It's all right. We got it.
Still good discussion, regardless, man.
Sure, man. That's it. We're there's news, and thanks to the chat for steering in some occasions, or focusing in others. You guys help make this show at least an hour long without a struggle. And this week we just kind of got into music. So you never know what you're going to get.
Oh, but before we call it a day, the last thing.
Okay.
What were your Mandalorian thoughts?
I have not watched it yet. I was busy, but you can go ahead.
I know how busy you were. So there's a big reveal at the end, which I'm not going to spoil, but it got people with what it implied very, very stoked. They head back to Tatooine. Just like at the end of the previous season, he's trying to get the child to its own kind, and apparently other Mandalorians are supposed to help him along the way. And he comes into contact with this sheriff of Tatooine, played by Timothy Oliphant, who's great in the role, by the way. And he's a character from the Aftermath Star Wars book that is mentioned, I think, maybe for a chapter or so. And you find that this guy has somehow been able to find Boba Fett's armor. And so basically Mando teams up with this guy and with some sand people to go and kill this big sea dragon sort of thing. So there's a very cool creature aspect to the episode. And there's really not a lot more that I want to spoil for you beyond that.
I don't think they appreciate being called that. I think they have a
Tusken Raider. Yes, exactly.
Please, if you're gonna enlist the name of the people, then call them by what they are.
Yeah, because I have heard. Yeah, Cartman has used that as a racial slur on South Park before.
Tusken Raider.
Well, no, Sand People. It's it's an episode where they're over in the Middle East, and of course, Cartman being in bad taste, you know why he's saying something like that. Sure. But yeah, man, it's a fun episode. I really dug it, and with what they kind of imply at the end, it makes you it'll get most Star Wars fans, I would say, especially of the original trilogy, especially excited for what's to come. So
thanks, Stiff Kittens. Did you notice the Marshal's bike was Anakin's pod racer?
I did.
Now
there's Easter eggs
on that.
There's Easter eggs all throughout this episode. I mean, it's almost like a overstuffing the turkey, maybe to a degree. You can tell that Favre and Filoni, and Favre actually directs this one himself, and he does a splendid job with that. But you can tell these guys are just geeking out. They're putting stuff in. The dragon is from the Old Republic, this big, huge creature that's in the episode. And, with the Boba Fett armor and, some of the other things that they hint, there's just...
All right, we need to hurry up and watch it.
There's a lot. There is a lot, so...
As fans of Nick Frost and Simon Pegg, have you checked out Truth Seekers on Amazon yet?
I have yet to. It just debuted on the 30th. Seeing those guys reteaming, the guys from Shaun of the Dead and, Todd Fuzz and whatnot, they're buddies. They wanted to continue working together, but I think Frost.
No Edgar Wright though.
No, he's nope, not in this one at least. But Frost, I think, is the main character. It's it's like a ghost hunting sort of team. So kind of horror comedy sort of thing. At least as far as the trailer goes. The one that I've been watching on Prime lately that I started is Utopia, which is it's a remake of a BBC show, if I'm not mistaken, and it's about these people obsessed with this comic book that basically predicted the future with diseases and all kinds of other stuff. It's got a little bit of a campiness to it, but also R-rated levels of violence, which I can always appreciate if done well. So yeah, that's the one that I've been watching, but I have yet to get to Truth Seekers. So
it's so funny. There's been an ongoing gag with Lindsay where he has a certain disdain for the film Tomorrowland.
I remember this.
It comes up every 2 months. It comes up about how much Lindsay hates Tomorrowland.
I don't mind it. It's not great or anything.
Yeah, it's not great. Lindsay apparently invested a lot of hope into that movie and whatever. A prominent YouTuber that I follow, some good news, more good news. They have something. They satirize news. Today they released a video that's hours long.
Holy crap!
I think it's called More Good News or Some Good News, the movie, and the running gag is how the guy will not watch Tomorrowland, and at every turn I'm like, oh, Lindsay needs to watch this video, but it's feature film length this video, and it's a dude. If you're a film fan, if you're a time travel film fan, and you notice what's going on in the country and what's happening tomorrow, it might be worth a watch. forget watching some random movie and watch this YouTube video where it's educational about how time travel movies have been telling us that, you know, and he broke down the latest Bill and Ted movie about how, you know, they have this, you know, they were told when they were younger, Bill and Ted were, that they would eventually write music that would save the world, and they keep kicking the can down the road, even, you know, as they're grown-ups, like, we'll just keep going to the future. And that's kind of like there's a theme of this video. Like, I was so impressed with the I just recommend it. Some Good News or More Good News, the movie.
I'm gonna seek it out.
Yeah, it's at least 90 minutes long, and it's if you're a film fan, he riffs on films. If you're a film fan and can laugh at what the state of the country is and how much of a villain Donald Trump is in certain people's eyes, it is a hoot, because there's countless quotes that the guy gets that Back to the Future 2, they said, yeah, Biff, that was Donald Trump. Batman Returns, they said, what's his face was Donald Trump. There's so many things where like they uncover this footage. It's fascinating. The work that was put into that. I had such a great time. I'm really pissed that I don't have money to give to them, because I had a brilliant time. And if you have the time, give it at least a little bit. Just give it a little bit. He opens it up talking about Super Mario Brothers, and that's all I'll say. And
I can only imagine who the current presidential comparisons would be made to.
That's how he starts,
Mr. Dennis Hopper.
That is how he starts. Evil man with weird hair, and he just goes on this journey from there. And again, there's a Chekhov's gun, and they reference it's very comedically sharp. It's very, very funny.
Color me intrigued. So I'm gonna see.
Yeah, it's my recommendation. If you don't ever watch anything from me ever again, take that time and just give a whirl. Especially with don't spend time in front of a TV tomorrow. Go watch this YouTube video instead. Again, it's either some Good News, the movie, or More Good News. The channel is Some Good News and then More Good News. He's got 2 channels. It's a guy who used to work for Cracked. I'm sure there's a team behind him, because there is some heavy duty lifting and research in this. Because if he did it, if he wrote it and got behind it, there's a lot of cameos in it too. Cameos from people that you expect at a certain point.
Dope.
Yeah, check it out. Check it out. Look it up.
I'm most definitely going to, man.
Other than that, you got any plans for the week?
Boy, I mean, just getting caught up on some stuff here. Probably finishing Utopia, like I said, and looking forward to the next Mandalorian. There's really, now that the spooky season is over, there's almost like that Halloween hangover sort of situation where I'm like, okay, what am I going to watch now? Because I am definitely, I mean, I watch enough horror as it is, but in October we watch immensely more. Yeah. I kind of need a break, which is why having Mandalorian on Friday was a really nice change of pace and getting to watch something different, But as far as videos go, this evening I'm putting up the review of that Synchronic movie. It's the new film from Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. They did a couple indies before this called The Endless, a film called Resolution, and also a kind of monster love story called Spring. This film stars Anthony Mackie. It's their most visually accomplished film. Terrific score, great performance. The script has some issues here and there, but for the most part, I really dug it. And it's unfortunate that it's not on VOD yet. It's only in drive-ins and regular theaters if you have that ability. But look forward to that. And aside from that, just lots of horror show stuff as per usual. I'm sorry, I'm gonna turn this back around for a second here. You brought it up and I watched it because of you. Possessor. Yeah. Wow, that was
a hell of a movie.
It was interesting. Yeah, I mean, not as full on body horror as I anticipated. You know, more of like a espionage thriller with some sci-fi and horror elements.
Yeah, some weird shit. You know,
there's that psychedelic sequence like about halfway through the movie that I think we talked about when I first saw it. But yeah, Brandon Cronenberg, obviously David Cronenberg's son, accomplished body horror legend in that regard. But yeah, I mean, between this and his previous film, Antiviral, that I really enjoyed as well, the apple hasn't fallen far from the tree. So,
no. The guy's actually got a joke about that. No, more good news. So yeah, I gave it. I watched it, gave it 3 stars. Thought it was good. It very much gave me old school Cronenberg feels. So there's that. Yeah, I'm gonna catch up with Mando. I can't. You know, you did that, and I read what I read. Spring is great. Yes, it is. Yeah. Hey, Roger, how are you? Spring is really, really good. What I probably, as far as content on this channel is concerned, I have a Who Would Like That special where I talk about cuties.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that last week. That you
were, I shot it last week. I had no time to touch it in post. So there's that. That'll probably be up later in the week. Patrons will have access to the weekend that was behind the scenes. What my weekend was, trying to edit while under duress and an interesting environment is all I can do to tease my lovely supporters. Tomorrow I might do a live cast over on Twitch. I don't know. It depends on how drunk I get. Whether or not there's riots or what. Depends on what type of mood I'll be in tomorrow. I might do a stream tomorrow night. That'll be over on Twitch. And Emily and I will be doing a spoiler chat on The Craft. So that will happen eventually. I don't know what day or time. So hopefully everybody will be back together next week. No pressure with the schedule the way it is. So we no matter who it is, we seem to be handling it. So thank you, Fuego, for taking on a 200% load.
Happy to, man. I always enjoy the palaver.
Yes, we did it. And thanks again to the chat for keeping it fresh. We 2 hours without any sort of stress. Shit, I could probably go another 20 now that I talked about some more good news.
And I also didn't notice any of the frequent like smack talk and troll that we get.
Yeah, you had to bring it up, and now he's gonna
just swoop right in. So
my chance. Yeah.
It's like you actually are paying attention to me, which is all they want, right?
You just got it. All right. So thanks, guys. Hopefully we'll see you next week, and hopefully the country will exist. For Chauncey, Lindsay, and Fuego, I have BP. Have a good one.
Yes. Good